who's kind of been, your favorite athlete to interview so far?
I think from a soccer point of view, my favorite was Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Okay.
It's just I have so much respect to speak to people who've done everything and won everything in the game. And he literally has. You name it, Champions League and World Cups. And I understood when I spoke to him that he has done a lot of interviews, and I always try and make them very different. And I did a lot of research, read books, and did a lot of research behind it, and I often want to talk to people about how failures can actually lead to success. Everybody sees them lifting the trophy at the end of a competition or the end of a season. And what I remembered about Schweinsteiger covering those teams was everybody thinks of Germany that won the World Cup in 2014. But the story is that they lost in the semi-final of the 2010 FIFA World Cup to Spain. And when they came off the field that day after losing, they lost by 1-0 on a set-piece header. But they got outplayed, absolutely smashed. It was 1-0. And after losing that day, they realized we have to play like them if we want to reach our level. And, he went and won the Champions League for Bayern Munich, his hometown team, and played for Bayern for years as a school kid. He was there. And they won the Champions League at Wembley, but he missed the penalty at home in the Allianz Arena for Munich against Chelsea in the Champions League final. So every success that he had at first was dictated by failure. And it was a fascinating mental approach to how he got through his life and how he dictates it and how the mentality is to win. And just to talk about that kind of psychological part of the game, I love to learn from people, those high performance athletes that have reached the very top and the mentality. So I got lucky to interview Schweinsteiger 3 times at least, maybe 4. And every one of them was something that was a true thrill for me.
Oh, wow. Well, I appreciate you sharing that story with us, because, we are all about talking about athletes here on this podcast, and getting that sort of background that you don't really see with the likes of Bastian Schweinsteiger. I know he recently came over to the MLS, and he played for Chicago Fire, I believe, for a little bit.
That's right.
But yeah, his international stint, and especially over in Bayern, he's done huge things. And I still remember that 2014 Germany team was quite something. I believe that was the World Cup. They beat Brazil 7-1. So that was quite something to behold as well.
I talked to him about that as well. Sorry to interrupt. That was another thing we talked about. And you think that would be, you remembered that right away as being one of the true highlights of his career. And as a true winner, you'd think that. And it was embarrassed by it.
Germany's first corner. Plenty of height on it. It's gone through. Germany score! Mistaken defence here could let Kroos in. A chance of a second for Germany. Brazil in real trouble. They're in dire trouble now. We have a World Cup record. And Germany looking good for the final on Sunday. They might get another one here. It's 3-0. It's a romp for the Germans. The game may be won and lost inside 25 minutes. Oh, it might get worse. This is from 4. This is quite astonishing. It's all over now. It really is all over for Brazil. And they're here again. There's 3 forward. Khedira, Özil. They're queuing up. They're all going to score at this rate. Ramirez gets it through here. It's Paulinho. Neuer, Paulinho. Wide is Khedira. Back into Lahm. Square. 6-0 it is. Oh, what a night they're going to have. But, they might have number 7 here now. They have got 7. It's hammered in. Now Oscar, maybe he can chip the keeper. Maybe he can force one in. Oscar, he's got a goal. It's Brazil 1, Germany 7. And I have never seen a goal less celebrated in my life. The only word you can think of is total disbelief right now.
It was a fascinating thing. It was like in the end, it was like they didn't even celebrate one because they just reached the World Cup final, and that's not the job done, is it? You need to win the game. But it was almost like in Brazil, and I get the feeling whenever I speak to people that when they spend a long time in a country for a competition, when you play that host nation, there's a lot of pressure on you to win it, but you feel the World Cup, you live the World Cup, you live in that country during that time, and they almost felt like like I said, embarrassed. He felt a little bit uncomfortable with the way. I mean, everyone wants to win a game, and if you won 7-1 against your rivals in the competition in the local city league, you'd be loving it. But in a World Cup semi, it was just a different, fascinating mindset that he doesn't look back on it as being an incredibly positive experience.
Oh, interesting. And do you think that was something that was shared by the entire German side, or do you think that was 100%. Just him?
Yeah, 100%, completely. Yeah, all of them. I could just they're still professional and they're still enjoying the goals, but when the whistle goes, there's a sense of, as I said, a little bit they're very uncomfortable with it.
Square 6-0 it is. Hardly anybody is celebrating.
You could feel it that day. I mean, it was an extraordinary performance, an extraordinary result, and one that you just don't get to see. You just don't get to see those kind of things. And in a World Cup semi-final, a host team getting absolutely demolished like that. So, look, if it was a final, I think they would feel a bit differently, because what happens after the game? Well, you list the trophy and that's your reference point. That's the mental thing that you remember forever, right? But for them, it was just the next step to the next journey. And I think they would have happily have won 2-0 rather than 7-1, you know?
Oh, for sure. And, you know, soccer's huge in Brazil as well. And it definitely was a bit of a heartbreaker there for them. But yeah, again, that's very interesting. I personally wouldn't have thought that, but, you know, looking back, it's, you know, every few or so years, that's I think a highlight that comes on YouTube recommended, like, oh, Germany beating Brazil 7-1. So I feel like people even listening to this podcast that kind of go back and watch that, maybe, especially afterwards when, you know, they're shaking hands and kind of consoling the Brazilian side, you can kind of, I guess, maybe even see that happening. So I'll be sure to kind of go back and look for that.